What's up, gamers and collectors? DGC back with another video, and today we're taking a look at all the games that I beat in 2024. So it's quite a list. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so first up we have a good little RPG that ended up taking quite a while to beat. I want to say I ended up putting in about 40-45 hours into beating this game, and that being Star Ocean: The Second R, which is a really good game. I enjoyed the shit out of this game, actually. The music to it, the story with the sci-fi, the fantasy, so basically, I forget all the names of the people in the game, because, shoot, this was, I think, sometime in February when I finally finished the game. But I remember just enjoying the absolute shit out of this, and the one gripe that I had was, toward the end of the game, it really just kind of dragged on, if I'm being honest. That was kind of my one gripe toward the end, where it was just like, oh god, another boss fight, another boss fight. That's a running theme for me, personally. If I get to the end of the game, I don't mind doing 2, 3, maybe even 4 boss fights, like at the end of the game. But when you got it, and it's just like, boss fight, 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 and it just keeps going, and it's just like, bro, I get it. You want this to be like epic and hardcore at the end of the game, but it's like, dude, at some point it's just like ridiculous. But yeah, so I would recommend this one. You can get this now for like 20-30 bucks, Switch or PS5. I think it might even be on the PS4 as well. Really good game here, definitely worth owning. For 30 bucks and under, definitely recommend adding this to your collection. Next up is a digital game for the PlayStation 3, and that requires using the PlayStation Move, and you can also use the sharpshooter. I love this thing, and I love the PlayStation Move. That being House of the Dead 4 for the PlayStation 3, which you can still purchase to this day, so I would recommend getting on that before they're gone forever. It's not an expensive game. You can get House of the Dead 3, 4, and you can get the Resident Evil Chronicle games on the PlayStation 3. They all work with the Move and the sharpshooter gun. Definitely recommend getting all that before they're gone. Jump on that. But House of the Dead 4, really had a good time with that. It's a very fun game. Every year I kind of jump back into light gun games at the beginning of the year, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of getting that itch again to where I want to jump back in. I have all my little aim controllers charged up and everything, and like I'm kind of getting that itch of like, man, I want to go play maybe some Time Crisis 4 or something, you know. But yeah, so House of the Dead 4, beat that, enjoyed the shit out of it, really good game. Next up, I did purchase and import this from Japan. A Sega Saturn. This is the black gun. I like the black gun more. It just looks kind of cool. It doesn't even match my Saturn, because my Saturn is actually a white Japanese modded Saturn. So it doesn't even match. But, well, actually, being the plastic's yellow, it does kind of match the trigger. But I did enjoy a nice Virtua Cop, and I finished that. I did play Virtua Cop 2 and some of the Western games on the Saturn. However, I only beat Virtua Cop 1. I enjoyed it a good bit. Next up, in continuation with the Sega Saturn theme, I had it hooked up to my Trinitron, a nice little 20-inch Trinitron that I have. I'd love to get a bigger one, but one day that'll happen, hopefully. CRTs are getting pretty impossible to find nowadays, without people being like, it's worth $500. No, they're not. But yeah, so I played Sonic Jam on the Sega Saturn, and in the Sonic Jam I played Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Really enjoyed that. Had a good time with that. Next up, this is an older title. Well, not old, but older on the Switch. This was 2022, so not that long ago. But Pokemon Scarlet. I played this, when it launched, and I liked it. And then the frame rate really bothered me. And then in 2023 again, I played it a good bit again. And then in 2024, I finally was like, man, dude, you just got to beat the game. So I finally broke down, spent a ton of time, beat the game. After a while, I kind of cheesed it, and I would just launch my Pokemon everywhere, so they would like auto level and auto battle and do all that nonsense. Is that a cool feature? Yes, but you're cheesing the game at that point, so I was like, ugh. But nevertheless, I did enjoy this. I don't have the DLC. The DLC is not on the cartridge, even if you get the deluxe edition. It's just a download voucher, so really no point in not just getting the standard version and then get the DLC separate. No point in getting the more expensive physical version, because it's not really on there. Next up, we played a good one here, right here. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the PS5. Played the absolute shit out of this, beat this right away. Boy, I could not drive home fast enough every day from work to play this. And did I play this straight through 24 hours on the weekend, and just, I played the absolute hell out of this game. Oh my god. I haven't played a game like this, you know, being so addictively to it in such a long time. I had such a blast playing this game. It was such a wonderful experience. Next up, we have a 360 title here. This is an old one. This came out in 2006, The Outfit. I played this way back in the day. I rented it from Gamefly way back in the day, and I remember enjoying the multiplayer a lot, split screen with my buddy, and I always played the single player, but I never actually finished it. And then one day I was just kind of looking at my 360 collection. I was like, man, how have you gone all these years and owned that same copy for like 20 years now, or yeah, damn near 20 years, and you still haven't beaten the single player? And I was like, damn, I really got to do that. So I finally broke down and played it, and I had an actual a good time with the single player. It's pretty good. You can beat it, let's say maybe 9-10 hours. So, you know, it's not going to take a terrible amount of time. For as cheap as this game is, and it's exclusive to 360, probably never going to see this or see anything like it ever again. So the gameplay in this is very unique in the sense that you like call in, you like paratroop stuff in. They'll like drop in a tank or an artillery or some soldiers or a turret, or a MG42 rather. Drop in like some sandbags, or just all different military shit. It's a World War II based game, and it's really worth playing. If you can get this for like $10, I would say this is worth adding to your collection. Great exclusive to 360. Doesn't necessarily run the best. It's a little chunky. I'm pretty confident in saying this probably was a OG Xbox game that later got converted to a 360 game, because the game kind of looks like butt cheeks. But you're not playing it for that. You're playing it for the gameplay. It's a very unique gameplay, very fun. The story to it it's not horrible. Like you might even laugh a couple times at some of their stupid little jokes. They're like military comedy jokes and stuff. It's a pretty fun game. I definitely recommend this one for sure. Next up, so this was kind of getting into the summer at this point. Next up, the 360 store was going down in this time frame. So I ended up just buying. I spent deep into the 3 digits. I'm not proud to admit it, but it's just the reality of what happened. I bought all the DLC I wanted. I bought all the download only games I wanted. I don't think that there was really anything that I missed out on that I didn't want, that I didn't get. So I'm proud of that. And I did get another 360, which I'm going to eventually load up with all the content here in the next little while before they inevitably, they're going to make it to where you can't even get that content officially from them anymore. In the sense, like if you purchased it, you could still re-download it. But eventually they're going to take those servers down too fully, just like they did with the OG Xbox stuff. So if you ever want to truly back up your consoles and have all this stuff, like I have 3 hard drives for my 360 and 2 360s themselves physically. So I'm going to really try to back that up. Just kind of a friendly reminder to you guys. But so Far Cry Classic was one of the games that I ended up buying before the store closed. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to actually play this game that I just spent money on instead of just buying it to say I'm going to play it. So I ended up actually playing Far Cry Classic. I had never played it before. It's essentially just Far Cry 1, but Classic being like they converted it to control, console. And I think you can get it on PS3 as well, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure. But 360 for sure, and you can still get it on Steam, just regular Far Cry. It is vastly different than Far Cry Instincts and on the OG Xbox, and then Far Cry Instincts Evolution on 360, which was a combination of Far Cry Instincts Evolution was Instincts, and then Instincts Predator, which was the sequel on the OG, converted up into a double pack on the 360. There's too many different little Far Cry things for Far Cry 1. There's essentially, I guess, 2 versions of Far Cry 1. The console version, you get like superpowers, and then the Classic, which is basically just the PC version, you don't have the superpowers. The story is very similar. The levels are basically very similar as well. They are 2 completely different games, though. So, like, I do recommend playing both. But as far as Far Cry Classic goes, or Far Cry 1, however you want to call it, I do recommend it. It's a blast to play. I had a lot of fun playing it, that's for sure. Definitely recommend grabbing that one. Now, next up, we have a title that I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this, and that being NieR Replicant, which is a remake of the first game, which was 360 PS3. In America, we had NieR, I think it's called Genslant or something like that, I don't know, and then NieR Replicant was the version that Japan got, which you played as the boy, and then we got the version where you play as the dad of the girl, and I think that's how that works, but NieR Replicant was essentially the Japanese version, but converted to the American version. I don't know. It's a whole thing. The NieR game and the Drakengard series is like a whole thing in its own self. There's like multiple endings, and they branch off and do all these. Yeah, it's a whole thing, as I said. With that being said, this is a really good game, a really good hack and slash RPG. And I would say it's RPG light. Like, you're not doing a lot of leveling up in this, that, and the third. I mean, you are, but you're not like going in and tweaking your armor and weapons and stuff. There's like light armor and weapon changing and stuff, but nothing crazy. But the story is really good. Music is pretty good. For me, the story on this one is better than the sequel. The music on the sequel is way better. Frankly, NieR Automata's music is some of the best music ever in gaming. But the story on Automata, to me, we'll talk about it in a second. But NieR Replicant, I loved this game. It was really fun. It was a really heartfelt story. The brother, at least in this one, is going off to save his sister and blah, 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 blah. And then you figure out like it's this whole like time paradox thing. And it's just like, it's just a mind fuck of a game. And it's really fun. It's a really good game. I definitely recommend it for sure. Cheap game too. You can get it for like 20, 25 bucks. Next up, I played a game here. This is definitely one of my Game of the Year contenders. It did win Game of the Year at the Game of the Awards, which being Astrobot for the PS5. I played the hell out of this. I loved every bit of it. It's a really good game. It's a really solid platformer. The callback to all the different PlayStation eras, really cool. Really just fun to play. This is just a down-to-earth fun to play. Like for me, Sackboy's Adventure, which was a launch title for the PS5, was kind of a rubbish game. It really sullied the name of Sackboy and Little Big Planet by being not a good game. Astrobot, however, is a phenomenal platformer. This is probably one of the better platformers I've played in years, if not like maybe even a decade. Like, this is a really good platformer. Like you know how Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, like you can kind of go back and play infinite amount of times and they're just always fun, no matter what. And Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3, you can kind of just go back and always play them and they're just always fun. Mario 64, just always fun. This has now entered the pantheon of a always fun platformer. You could probably indefinitely go back and replay this and just always have a smile on your face. The cuteness of Astrobot and just the childish atmosphere of the game, that just it for me, it transformed me into a child while I was playing, and I was just really just having a blast. Like, it's just a game that converts you into just pure bliss and pure fun. The sound effect, the cute nature of it, the music in the game, just everything about it just transforms you into his world, and it's just a wonderful game. Like, did it deserve Game of the Year? That I can't say. For me, it is not my Game of the Year, but it is up there as one of the good games of the year for sure. I definitely would say this is worth every penny of $60. If you have a PS5, I definitely recommend playing this game. Wait until you get to the credit scene at the end of the game. You will have a shit-eating grin on your face because it's just a trip down memory lane once you get to that credit scene. And it was a really, it's worth not looking it up to just play it and experience it on your own. I mean that. If you're a PlayStation guy or girl who's been gaming PlayStation for a long time, you will have a blast playing that game. I promise you that. That does get the biggest seal of approval this year of a game that you should buy is Astrobot. Next up, we did a bunch of online stuff with Game Pass. Modern Warfare 3. I finally said fuck it, and I was like, I got to finish the trilogy out, and I got to play it, right? It's spoilers. It's not the end of the trilogy. They're clearly making a Modern Warfare 4. Didn't see that coming. At the end of the game, which it's a very short game. Surprisingly, though, I had a good bit of fun with Modern Warfare 3. 1, 2, and 3, I've actually been pleasantly surprised by the campaigns, and they were pretty good. The campaign is really short, but you know what? I was kind of okay with it. I fit it into a week, and then I played like one level every night, and I had a good time with it. It was a really good game. It was a really solid shooter. It's a really good campaign. If you have Game Pass, it's still on there. You can still go play that campaign for for the price of Game Pass. Next up, we did Jedi Survivor on the. I played that on the Xbox Series X as well. Beautiful looking game. From where you go from the first game to the second game in size and scope, it's so much bigger. It's so much grander. It's just a grandiose experience. They added in single saber, dual saber, Darth Maul saber. They added it to where like you could either make your guy have really like a lot of strength and health, or you can make him really acrobatic and really just good at fighting, so you don't need a lot of health. There's a lot of customization to the play style and stuff, and the customization of the character, Cal Kestis. Whether you can change the lightsaber colors on the sabers, you can change the saber itself, you can change his outfit like a ton of different ways and stuff. And what's cool is you could do it like while you're playing the game. I almost kind of feel like all those customizations should, I hate to say be unlocked from the beginning, but it's also like if I've already played it once, I already know the story. And while it is a really good game, I don't know that I'd ever go back to playing it again, personally. It is like a 9 out of 10 game. It's great, but like I don't know that I would go back and ever play it again. So having all those cool unlockable costumes and stuff is cool. If you're really into playing games over again, that's cool. But not being able to unlock and enjoy all that the first playthrough was kind of like, this kind of like I changed some of his clothes and some of the saber while I was playing the game, but by the end of the game I was like, So, but definitely a really good game for sure. Now, a game that I did purchase digitally was Space Marine 2 on Fanatical.com. I bought a global Steam key for like $43 at launch, so I saved a little bit of money. That was awesome. I enjoyed the game a lot. The one gripe that I have with the game was on launch, they did not support 21:9 monitors, so ultra-wide monitors. They didn't support that. It's 2024. This is a 2024 game. How are you not supporting ultra-wide monitors at launch? It just doesn't compete with me. So that did annoy me, and I didn't actually play the game for an entire month until they released the ultra-wide patch. I played the first level, enjoyed it, and then I just didn't play the rest of it till they released the ultra-wide patch. Once they did, I finished the campaign. I didn't play anything else during that time period. I was just hyper-focused on playing the campaign. It's a really good campaign. Prior to it coming out, I had purchased Space Marine 1 for the 360. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Space Marine 2 came out, and I played it, and I beat it, and I enjoyed it. Visually, graphically, amazing looking game. It's an HDR monitor, so like all the colors pop. There was a lot of blue like that, kind of from some of the characters where they were like ghost characters, I guess you could say, and they would like explode and like blue would come out, and it was very vibrant looking, and lots of purples and pinks, and the explosions are very vibrant. It's a very visually stunning looking game, very good co-op game. The multiplayer, like when that launched, there was a lot of people playing the multiplayer pretty consistently, and a lot of people enjoying that, and it was a really good game, and I really liked what I played, and I hope they make a third one, and I can't wait for the third one. I would definitely buy the third one, that's for sure. Let me throw this over here. All right, so next up we did a Switch title, which, not often that I actually play my Switch, but when I do, there's a good reason for it, because that means something new Nintendo put out finally. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So this is one of my Game of the Year contenders as well, and we're going to go over my actual pick at the end of the episode. And just Game of the Year being stuff that came out this year, obviously. But I really enjoyed this one a lot. For any of you that don't know, Link's Awakening is tied with Wind Waker for me personally as far as favorite Zelda. I guess Link's Awakening is my favorite top-down, and then Wind Waker is my favorite 3D Zelda. Personal opinion, those are my favorite Zeldas. I just like them. They're the childhood Zeldas that I had, so those are the ones that I like the most and cherish the most. This is the same art style as Link's Awakening. Really love the art style to it. It's very cool. It will age very well. This and Link's Awakening will be some of the games that age much like Wind Waker did for the GameCube. They will age very like fine wine. They will just always look good on the Switch no matter what, I would imagine, with the art style of this. Just a really fun game. I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. You're not going to be blown away by it, but as far like if you're a Zelda fan, this gives it a unique enough approach to where it's like, all right, this is finally something different after 30 years. But with that being said, they also really kind of honed in the building mechanic, which is basically just like a reskin of Tears of the Kingdom's building mechanic, but like slightly different. So it's really kind of like a top-down Tears of the Kingdom buildy type Zelda. It's not a bad thing, but it's just like I want to get away from and get back to traditional Zelda personally. This is more traditional with actual dungeons, having to get the map and the keys and this and that. And it's more traditional in that sense, whereas Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were not, in my opinion, real Zelda games because there was no actual dungeons with small keys and boss keys and compass and the map and an actual Zelda game where you actually go through the dungeon. You just had I'm sidetracking here, but personal opinion, the new Zelda games were good, but they were not Zelda games, in my opinion. This is more traditional Zelda, then mixed with the style of the Breath of the Wild building mechanic crap. So it is a good game. I do recommend it for sure. And with that being said, it definitely was one of my highlight games of the year. So it is a Game of the Year contender for myself, as well as Astrobot and Final Fantasy. Those were 3 games that I really, truly enjoyed this year for sure. Now, next up we have a game that we already briefly talked about, but we're going to continue that conversation of NieR Automata. So I played the demo of this the day it launched way back in the day in 2017, fell in love with the music, the story, and then I bought the game around launch time, not launch day, but around launch time, and I played 2 or 3 hours of it, and then something else came out and I just never got back to it, and then I eventually sold my copy, and I had to repurchase a copy. This is the repurchased copy. It will probably be my forever copy now. While I did enjoy this game a lot, I will have to say that NieR Replicant is the better game out of the 2. Musically, this game is again some of the best music I've ever heard in a video game, for sure. They're really catchy. It's just good music. The level design in this game versus this one is not as good. Like you're in this like beat down, broken down city, but it just really gave me that 7th gen vibe of browns and grays and drab colors and just and you go to the forest area a little bit and whatnot, but and then you go to the circus area a little bit, but even then that's still really dark drab colors, and maybe that's the aesthetics that they were going for, but it just wasn't a visually stunning experience. Music was good, the story was okay for sure. The story to this seemed more appealing than this one, but then before you could really invest in the characters and really enjoy the game was over. This dragged on too long, and this one was too short. They need to find Yoko Taro needs to find a happy medium where it's long enough to where you're not annoyed, but not too short to where you're also annoyed. So for me, like if you were stranded on a deserted island, you somehow had power, a PS4 with no internet, you could only take one NieR game with you, I'm clearly picking Replicant over Automata. There, I said it, because I know this one has more of a cult following than Replicant does. It's a really good game, and again, I really did enjoy it, but it's not everything it was cracked up to be. Like everyone speaks so highly of this game, like it's the best thing ever, and for me, it was too short. Like the story just wasn't expanded enough. By the time I was done the game, I'm like, I was left with so many questions and yearning to know more about the universe and the characters and the story, and like you're just kind of left on a cliffhanger. And then being this one takes place. I don't know what year. This one takes place in the year 3465, and then this one takes place in the future after this one. So let's just say 4000 for that example. Are they going to jump into the future again to the year 5000 after this one, or are we going to get a direct sequel to this one? I don't know. We have no idea yet. I kind of hope we get a straight direct sequel that has both of the characters in it again and expands on the story, because these were cool characters, you know? The characters in this, I kind of liked them more than these characters. I liked the story to this one more just because this one wasn't as expanded as much, is my personal take on that. Next up, these are two games that I purchased very recently, being Last of Us 1 and 2. I had an absolute blast playing these on the PS5 Pro. They look absolutely phenomenal. These, as of right now, are probably some of the best looking games you can play on the PS5 Pro. In general, best looking games you can play. They're just, the foliage is just stunning on both of these games. It's so unreal that this is a PS4 game, really is what this is. And then they remade this one fully on PS5, and then I guess they ported this game into this engine, and then they're both enhanced on the PS5 Pro, is kind of my assumption as to what happened. Beat both of these back to back, had an absolute killer time playing both of these, that's for sure. Now, I added this one at the bottom of the list because I don't remember quite when I played this in the year. I remember when it came out in the summer, but I don't know how I didn't put it into my actual Twitter or my list. And then I thought about it, and it's because I technically didn't beat it, and that being Stellar Blade for the PS5. Is this ever a good exclusive? And it is definitely a Game of the Year contender for me. I really enjoyed the shit out of this game. I want to say I was probably 85 to 90% done the game. And I really enjoyed what I played, but at the end, it got really difficult. Like, unrealistically difficult, and one of the boss fights that I got to, I just couldn't beat it. I played it like 20 times trying to beat it, and then I just put it down and I started playing something else. Probably, I think this would have been the time frame where I would have been around the NieR Replicant, is maybe the time frame when I kind of stopped playing this. And then I knew PS5 Pro was coming out, and I knew I would want to play it on that anyway, again, because I knew it was getting a patch for the Pro. So I wanted to play it again. I put it into the Pro and booted it up, loaded up my file. Couldn't beat that boss fight still. So then I was like, well, let me just start a new file and just kind of tinker around and play around. Don't ever do that. On this game specifically, if you start a new file, it wipes your old file out. Just gone. Gone. So now I have to fully replay the game, which is not a bad thing because it's now got the PS5 Pro enhancements and it looks phenomenal. So I'm actually excited to go back and play it again and hopefully enjoy the game and beat it this time. So, well, I did enjoy it, but hopefully beat it this time is what I meant to say. Now, I'll go over the Game of the Year here in a sec. I already know what it is, obviously, but I wanted to talk about a few games that I just didn't actually commit to beating this year because they just kind of pissed me off. And we're going to start off with a retro game here that I purchased, that being Warhammer 40k Space Marines 1. In this game, you fight a lot of the orcs and this and that. So story-wise, I was having fun playing the game. And it's still a pretty good-looking game. Like, this is some of the better graphics on the 360s, and PS3 for that matter, are in this game. Like, this was a later game, and it's a good-looking game. Still looks pretty good. And I was having fun, and it has really good game mechanics. It's basically just an inferior version of the second game, just graphically. Basically largely the same as the second game. A little smaller on the level scale, right? But again, that was hardware restraints. But the controls in this game are fucking awful. Oh my god, are they just awful. Not like the mapping, but just the aiming of the Xbox 360 sticks is just not good on this game for some reason. It just feels very clunky and hard to play this game. So like I was like forcing myself to play it because like I wanted to play the story and play it before the second one came out, which you don't really need to. They take place like 100 years apart from each other, so it's like they're same story but not at the same time. So I guess they did that largely because it was like a 20-year gap, not 20, but like a 14-year gap in between the games in our time. But yeah, I enjoyed the game for sure, what I played of it, and I need to finish it. It is on my list to finish this year, to play this game and finish it out, but I just didn't get around to it yet. Next up, we got some interesting Xbox Game Pass titles here. Doom Eternal. I finally got around to playing that game on my PC, and I've installed it a gazillion times, and I always want to play it, and then play a little, and then just stop. And then this year I was like, you know what? I got to commit. I got to beat it. I'm going to do it. And while it's a really good game, it too suffers from kind of NieR Replicant, like that it just drags on too goddamn long. Some games are just too long. I don't mind spending $70 on a game to get an 8-hour campaign. Hell, I'll do it for a 5-hour campaign if it's a good campaign, right? And it won't bother me. Much like Modern Warfare 3. I enjoyed that campaign, and I probably would have spent the $60 on that campaign had I known that it was good. But I waited and played it on Game Pass, and it is what it is. But it's worth playing, Doom Eternal, for sure. But it seems like it's taking so long, and it's just dragging out. And I kind of put it down, and I uninstalled it, and I was just like, I don't know. It was good that what I played, but it just kept dragging on. I'm like, dude, how long is this game going to keep going on? And I'm already like 20 hours deep, and it's like, on one hand, that's cool, you're getting your money's worth, but on the other hand, it's like, it just felt like it was dragging on. So I just stopped playing it. I just did. I had to. Next up, we another Game Pass game. This is a recent title that came out, Black Ops 6. Multiplayer-wise, pretty good. They did a pretty decent job. The whole, I forget what they call the new moving system. It works okay. It doesn't like break the game by any means or give unfair advantages or anything like that, in my opinion. It's a nice added feature. It's something cool that they finally added something different to Call of Duty after 20 plus years. They made it a little bit different. So it's a good added feature, right? The campaign, though, that's what we're here for. I didn't really like what I played. It seems they've kind of milked the Black Ops characters too much at this point. They're just like making up nonsensical stories at this point in time. It should have ended on 3. They shouldn't keep the Black Ops going. You know, Cold War was probably one of my favorite Call of Duty, so we'll say they should have ended story-wise with Cold War. But Black Ops 6 is just, it just feels like they pulled the story out of their ass and just, it's not even a good story. And then there was one level where you like go to like a Bill Clinton presidential rally or like fundraiser kind of thing. And it was just, there's like no shooting in it for like 40 minutes. You have to like walk around like a fundraiser and like take pictures and sneak around and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is not like first person shooter Call of Duty. This is some butt cheeks Bill Clinton presidential rally that I'm at, taking photos, and it was just weird and it took too long, and then there was like a weird, it's just not a good campaign in my opinion. And then you're at like this weird hub mansion thing. It's like a hub map for the world, but and then there's like a attack board that you have to like walk up to go to your missions and stuff. I don't want all that. I just want to go straight to mission, and I want to play an FPS game, and I want to, you know, no Bill Clinton rallies, no going on, you know, to attack boards and doing all. I just want to go mission, cutscene, mission, cutscene, mission. Cutscene. I don't need all this extra frivolous shit in my Call of Duty game. Like, know your place, Call of Duty. We play you for the multiplayer. We play you for the campaign. And that's what we want from you. That's it. We don't need all this extra. You don't need to try to be something you're not. You are already the king of first-person shooters in the sense that most gamers buy Call of Duty every year. Like, you don't need to add all this extra shit all the time. Like, just stay in your lane, stay focused at what you're good at, and just keep making Call of Duties the way you do. But I think it might be time to retire Mason and the other Black Ops characters. I think it's time for Treyarch to create new characters, maybe, and just be done with Mason and all of his buddies. That's just my personal opinion as far as Black Ops goes. Next up, we got a Nintendo game here. This is Princess Peach Showtime. I didn't know what to expect from this game. As someone who bought Peach DS, whatever it was called, the day it came out, I remember vividly buying that and loving that game. And I'm not afraid to admit that as a teenage boy that I bought the Daisy or Peach game for the DS when it came out when I was a teenager. I don't care because I was excited. It was a new Mario game on the DS, and I remember buying it and loving the shit out of it. And it was a great game. It's like a cult classic game at this point. You know, it's a really good platformer. This is not a good game, not a good platformer. It's just not a good anything. The music is forgettable. The story is forgettable. The levels are forgettable. Everything about the game is just forgettable. This is like a 5 out of 10. This is a fucking... Frankly, this is like one of the worst... It is probably the worst Nintendo game I've ever played in my life. I will finish it because I spent $60 on it. But I'm not going to do so wanting to. It's just an awful game. There's really no redeeming factors about this game. It's not even really a platform. It's like a weird theater game. I wouldn't even call it a platformer. It's just a very weird game, and it just left a sour taste in my mouth. Like, I already kind of hate the Switch as it is because it's a piece of shit system with really no fresh experiences really very often for someone who didn't own a Wii U, which I did, and had the full library. So, like, the Switch has been a dumpster fire for 7 years for somebody like me who's already played all of the Wii U games when they launched 10 fucking years ago. So when I finally get a new Nintendo exclusive, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to play that. And then it's this dumpster fire of a game, which I don't even want to finish. Sorry, I had to rant about that one. But here we have another title. This is a wonderful title from Nintendo. A lot of people were fucking crying and, oh my god, it's not 60 frames a second. I need that 60 frames a second on my RPG. It's Paper Mario RPG, or Thousand Year Door. You don't need 60 frames a second on Paper Mario. It's locked at 30 frames solid. The game is visually enhanced. This is the definitive version of this game now. I'm slowly playing through it. I've already beaten it on the cube, so I know the story to it. I don't need to rush through it by any means. I'm just taking my time and enjoying it. It looks wonderful on the Switch. I will say that. New textures. It's 1080p, 30 frames a second. There's no stutters, nothing like that. It's just a wonderful game, worth every penny of $60. I had a really good time with this one. What I've played so far, I obviously already know how the story ends, so it's a good game. Definitely recommend just picking this up over the GameCube version. There's no point in buying the GameCube version anymore. I mean, I have it from when I was a kid, but if you're a new collector, just get this version. There's literally no point to buy the GameCube version at all anymore. You're just doing it to waste money at this point in time. This is superior in every way. And rant. Alright, so next up we have 2 more 360 games and one... no, I guess this is it. This is the last 2 games that I started playing this year. Well, actually, there is one more. And I don't know, actually even know where it is, but Burnout Revenge, I've been playing that a lot again on my Series X and just been enjoying that. 2 more 360 games here, though. Here's one I bought earlier in the year, if you watch the pickups videos. This is Lost Planet. I got the limited edition. This was new. I opened it. I've been playing it on the Series X. I think it was sometime late summer is when I was kind of playing this. And I think there's about a dozen levels in this game. I think I'm on level 9 or 10, so I'm like very close to finishing the game. While I enjoy the game, it's not quite what I remember as a kid playing the demo and teenager, playing the demo and enjoying the demo. And I remember renting it once or twice and like playing a couple of the levels and having fun with it. But then I finally was like, hey, I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna beat it and enjoy it. And it is a 360 exclusive. So I wanted to like really enjoy the game, and the controls are not great. They have not aged well. Graphics are okay. Again, they haven't really aged that well. And just really, frankly, the controls in this game are just... I know this was in a weird transitional era where we were still kind of getting into 3D games, I guess you could say, because this was a very early title for the 360, 06. But it just... The controls in this game are just, they're pretty fucking awful. And it really deters from me wanting to even play the game, because it's like, I like the story to it, but the controls are just, they're not good. Like, I don't know what these companies were thinking when they made some of these weird control schemes on some of these games. It's just kind of an awful experience. Now, earlier in the year, this is by far one of the times where I spent a lot of money, a lot of coin purse to get a title to add to the collection. I did largely trade in a lot of stuff and put about $70 toward this title cash, and then the rest was just trade-in crap that I didn't want anymore. And then I saw it sitting on my shelf, and I was like, man, you have a $300 Xbox 360 game that you have not beat. And I was like, that one stings a little that I'm just kind of letting it chill there and haven't beat it yet. that being Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition for the 360. So I've been playing this slowly but surely. Actually, it's in my 360. Slowly but surely playing it and enjoying it. It's a really fun game. I am definitely enjoying it. I think I could beat it by the end of the year, but I'm not sure how long the game is. If memory serves me correct, I think it's a decent length of a campaign. So I kind of have a lot of stuff to try to beat by the end of the year to like truly beat them by the end of the year. My goal, and if you follow me on Twitter, if you don't, you should, but my goal was to get to, I think I put 30 to 40 games. So I want to say this is roughly about 25-ish games. So I was close to my goal. Next year, I'm going to set it at 25 games because I think that's doable because that basically is 2 a month-ish a month. And I think that's doable. I think I can actually do it and meet my goal next year. But as far as Game of the Year goes, for me, it really came down to 4 games. Where's the other one? Here's the other one. Stellar Blade, Astrobot, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of the Wisdom. I was about to say of Wisdom, were really good. They were really solid choices. This is probably one of my favorite platformers now of all time. This is a really good hack and slash game, just really fun to play. It's, yes, obviously they have a sexualized woman in here, but if you can get past that, the level design is the graphics are beautiful, the sound is beautiful, the level design itself is really well done. It's really a well put together game, and it's very much worth owning a PS5 for this game, as well as Astrobot and the actual Game of the Year pick, which we'll talk about here in a second. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of the Wisdom. I just did it again. Echoes of Wisdom. Really good game, and definitely something I really enjoyed and cherished, despite not being like the best Zelda in the world. But I enjoyed it because the dungeons were at least like real dungeons again, with maps and small keys, and you actually had to traverse back and forth and find stuff. So it felt more Zelda than the last 2 Zeldas. Now, my actual Game of the Year for me is something that just blew my socks off this year. Is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I just had such a good time with this game that when I was at work, I was thinking about it. When I was driving home, I was thinking about it. When I was sleeping, I was thinking about it. Like, what was going to happen next? Which character was going to show up? Which character was going to leave? Which one was going to die? Which one? Like, what new music am I going to hear? What new mini game am I going to get to play? What new stage? What area am I going to go? What kind of new weapons am I going to find? Like, just everything about the game was just so enticing. And the intro to the first part of Part 1, which is just Remake, the naming scheme is not the greatest. They should have just called this Remake Part 2, but whatever. Remake Part 1 of the trilogy, the intro to that was phenomenal, and the whole game was phenomenal. But then the intro to this was really good, and then traversing to all the different areas that you go to. While the game took a long time to beat, it took me probably about 50 hours to beat the main campaign. At no point in time during the game did I felt like I was being dragged along. There was no boring moments. There was no lulls in the story. There was nothing bad about the game that I can say. Like, I truly had a wonderful experience playing this game. It was just such a joyous experience to play this game. The music, just the graphics. I remember. I don't remember the stage areas or the names of any of that stuff, but you're going with the main team. It was later in the game, and you're kind of going through this like maze type thing where it's like almost like an Aztec looking kind of maze, but it's like all cubey, and it's like in space, and there's like parts moving up and down. You know what I'm talking about if you played the game. And just going through that, and then just like flying the plane different areas and stuff, and just going to the beach area was fun, and then going to like the forest area, and then riding on the chocobos, and just everything about the game was just such a blast. And then like going through the swamp area was kind of fun, and just you really owe it to yourself to play the game. You really do. I believe it is coming to the Xbox eventually. It just got onto Steam here very recently. If you have a PS5 and you haven't picked up the game, what are you doing? Because this is a true 10 out of 10 must-own PS5 game, and hopefully you Xbox boys can play this soon and enjoy it, because it really should just be enjoyed by everybody. It's a wonderful experience, and definitely play the first part before you play the second part. It just makes sense that way. But for me, this is my game of the year. I had an absolute blast playing this, and I actually want to replay it again on my PS5 Pro next year in 2025. So that's going to wrap it up for this year's 2024 Beat It Games list of things that I beat this year. I felt like I beat a pretty diverse amount of stuff. A little too much PS5 in there for me, though. I didn't really do a lot of retro as much as I had wanted to. My initial plan was to kind of like do an N64 game, then do an NES game, then do a SNES game, then maybe do a Genesis game, then maybe do a PS3 game, then do like an Xbox Series X game, then jump over to the Switch. Kind of just like play and use all my consoles, right? Like I haven't played NES, and I don't even honestly know how long it's been since I played an NES game. I haven't turned on my N64 in ages. I haven't played a GameCube game in just so long. So like I want to, next year, 2025, I am going to commit to it and try to rotate. I'm not going to just stay on one system locked in. This year, basically, I just played 360 and PS5 all year. I want to rotate in between different systems. Maybe play some Genesis, play some NES, play some Saturn, play some Xbox, and really diversify and use all my systems and kind of do that. And really challenge myself to some games that I've owned for a long time and maybe never beat. And just stuff that I got stuck on as a kid and still own that I've never beat. There's a lot of RPGs that I want to go to this coming year and play, and it's unfortunate that I'm so into RPGs now, because they're such not time wasters, but they're time consumers, because they take so long to beat. And I love playing RPGs now, and I love the grandiose stories and the scale of just this epic universes that these RPGs make, but they just take so long. They're so time consuming. But so that's kind of the plan. I want to play a lot of different stuff, and that's where we're going to be going in the next year. I just playing a lot of different stuff, and I plan on trying to maybe review some retro games here and there again, like I used to from time to time, and really just pick out some games that I think are worthwhile for you guys to play and maybe do reviews on and stuff. But that's going to do it for 2024 Beat It list. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you decide to pick up some of these games for yourself and enjoy them. Be sure to leave a comment down below on games that you beat this year, or maybe stuff that you think I should play next year, or that kind of thing. As always, peace out for now, guys. Till next time.
Come here, you mother...